The crystal pitcher arced through the air in slow motion, its contents catching the afternoon light before exploding across Sophia's cream silk blouse. Ice cubes bounced off her collarbone. Lemon slices slid down her chest. The freezing water soaked through to her skin as gasps echoed through the conservatory. Beatrice Kensington stood there, her perfectly manicured hand still extended. Her lips curled in a smile that didn't reach her cold blue eyes. "Oops," she said, her voice dripping with false innocence. "How clumsy of me." The circle of wealthy women behind her tittered like a flock of vultures. Before we continue with what happened next, please hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. Stay with me until the very end of this story because what happens next will blow your mind. And comment below with the city you're watching from so I can see how far this story travels. Now let me take you back to where this all began. Sophia Hayes gripped the steering wheel so hard her knuckles turned white. The winding driveway seemed to stretch forever, lined with ancient oak trees that probably cost more than her childhood home. Her stomach churned as the Kensington estate came into view, a sprawling mansion that looked like it had been ripped from a period drama. This wasn't just a house. This was a monument to wealth, to legacy, to everything she wasn't. "You're doing it again," Theo said from the passenger seat. "Doing what?" Sophia glanced at him, then back at the road. "That thing where you hold your breath and look like you're about to face a firing squad." He reached over and squeezed her hand. "It's just my mother, Soph. She's going to love you." Sophia wanted to believe him. God, she wanted to believe him. But the knot in her stomach told a different story. She'd seen the photos, heard the stories. Beatrice Kensington wasn't just wealthy. She was old money, the kind of woman who could trace her lineage back centuries and probably had portraits of ancestors who'd signed important documents. "Just my mother," Sophia repeated flatly, "the woman who once made a duchess cry at a charity gala." "That duchess was embezzling from the children's fund," Theo said defensively. "Mother was completely justified." "She made her cry, Theo, in public, in front of 300 people. Well, don't embezzle, and you'll be fine." He grinned, trying to lighten the mood, but Sophia couldn't match his smile. She pulled the car to a stop in front of the main entrance. A valet appeared immediately as if summoned by magic. Sophia stared at him. They had valets. Of course they had valets. She'd grown up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens where her mom worked double shifts at the hospital, and her brother Arthur wore second-hand clothes so she could have new school supplies. "Miss Quill," the valet said, opening her door. Sophia stepped out, smoothing down her dress. She'd agonized over this outfit for days. Not too casual, not trying too hard, professional, but approachable. The navy sheath dress had cost half her paycheck, but it felt like armor now. The front door opened before they reached it. Beatrice Kensington stood in the doorway like a queen surveying her kingdom. She was exactly as Sophia had imagined, tall, elegant, with silver hair pulled back in a perfect chignon. Diamond earrings caught the light. Her cream suit probably cost more than Sophia's car. "Theo, darling." Beatrice's face transformed when she looked at her son, genuine warmth flooding her features. She embraced him, kissing both cheeks. Then her gaze slid to Sophia. The warmth evaporated. "Mother, this is Sophia, my fiancée." Sophia extended her hand, willing it not to shake. "Mrs. Kensington, it's such a pleasure to finally meet you." Beatrice looked at Sophia's hand like it was a dead fish, then took it with just the tips of her fingers. The handshake lasted exactly 1 second. "How quaint," Beatrice said. "Do come in. The staff has prepared the conservatory for tea." She turned and walked inside her heels, clicking on marble floors that probably cost more than most people's houses. Theo leaned close to Sophia. "See, that went well." Sophia stared at him. Had they been at the same introduction? But he was already following his mother, oblivious to the ice in her greeting, the dismissal in her tone. Sophia followed them through hallways lined with oil paintings of stern-faced ancestors. Each one seemed to judge her as she passed. The conservatory was a glass-enclosed paradise filled with exotic plants and flowers. A table was set with fine china silver and crystal. Everything sparkled. 4 women sat around the table, all cut from the same cloth as Beatrice. Perfectly styled, dripping in jewelry, radiating that particular brand of confidence that came from never having to check a price tag. "Ladies, this is Theo's little friend," Beatrice announced. Sophia something. Hayes, Sophia said firmly. Sophia Hayes. Of course. Beatrice settled into the head of the table, gesturing vaguely at an empty chair. Do sit, dear. Sophia sat. The chair felt like a throne, too grand, too formal. She didn't belong here. Hayes. One woman mused, her tone thoughtful but sharp. I don't believe I know any Hayes families. Are you from the Connecticut Hayes or the Boston branch? Neither. I'm from Queens. The silence that followed could have shattered glass. Queens, another woman repeated, as if Sophia had said she was from Mars. How urban. My mother was a nurse, Sophia said, lifting her chin. She worked at Mount Sinai for 30 years. How noble, Beatrice said, pouring tea with practiced grace. Service professions are so important. Someone has to do them. The words landed like slaps. Sophia felt heat rising in her cheeks, but forced herself to stay calm. Theo was already on his phone, scrolling through emails, completely checked out of the conversation. And what do you do, dear? A woman with too much Botox asked. I'm an architect. I design sustainable, affordable housing. Affordable housing. Beatrice set down her teacup with a delicate clink. How charitable. Though I suppose that doesn't pay very well, does it? I do fine, Sophia said, her voice tight. I'm sure you do, dear. Beatrice smiled, all teeth, no warmth. It must be quite a change, though, from Queens to all this. She gestured at the opulence surrounding them. One might wonder about the adjustment. Sophia knew exactly what she was implying, her hands clenched in her lap nails, digging into her palms. Actually, I'm quite comfortable with who I am and where I come from, Sophia said. Of course you are. Beatrice's smile widened. Though I imagine the engagement ring helps with that comfort, doesn't it? The other women laughed, a cruel tinkling sound like breaking glass. Sophia's hand instinctively went to the ring. It was beautiful, a family heirloom Theo had presented her with. 2 carats vintage setting, probably worth more than she made in a year. The ring is lovely, Sophia said carefully. But I said yes because I love Theo, not because of jewelry. How romantic, Beatrice cooed, though love and financial security do make such compatible bedfellows, don't they? I mean, you could have fallen in love with anyone. How fortunate that you chose someone with the Kensington name. Mother, Theo said absently, still staring at his phone. Be nice. I am being nice, darling. Beatrice turned her attention back to Sophia. I'm simply getting to know our new little friend. Tell me, Sophia, what did your father do? Sophia's throat tightened. He wasn't in the picture. Ah, Beatrice nodded knowingly. Single mother household, that explains so much. What exactly does it explain? Sophia asked, her voice hardening. Oh, nothing terrible, dear. Just that you might have certain expectations, certain needs that perhaps influenced your choices. Beatrice sipped her tea. It's only natural for someone from your background to seek stability. The words hung in the air like poison gas. Are you calling me a gold digger? Sophia said bluntly. Theo's head snapped up. What, Mother? I'm not calling you anything, dear, Beatrice interrupted smoothly. I'm simply observing patterns. Young women from modest circumstances meeting wealthy men. It's a tale as old as time. No judgment, of course. Every word dripped with judgment. I have a successful career, Sophia said, fighting to keep her voice level. I don't need anyone's money. Of course not, one of the other women said, her voice saccharine. Though architecture must be quite competitive, especially sustainable, affordable housing. The margins on that must be razor thin. I imagine it's difficult, another chimed in, making ends meet on such philanthropic work. Noble certainly, but not exactly lucrative. They were circling her like sharks. I manage just fine, Sophia repeated. I'm sure you do, dear, Beatrice said, though I imagine the prospect of not having to manage of being taken care of must be quite appealing. Sophia stood up abruptly. Her chair scraped against the floor. Excuse me, I need some air. Sit down. Beatrice commanded, her voice suddenly sharp as a blade. Sophia froze, shocked by the authority in that tone. We're not finished with tea. Beatrice continued, her smile returning, but her eyes glacial. It would be terribly rude to leave now, and we wouldn't want people thinking you lack manners, would we? That you don't know how to conduct yourself in polite society." Sophia slowly sat back down. She felt trapped like an animal in a cage with predators just beyond the bars. "There's a good girl," Beatrice said approvingly. "Now where were we? Ah yes, discussing your background. Tell us more about Queens. I've never been, of course, but I hear it's quite diverse." The way she said diverse made it sound like a disease. "It's a wonderful borough," Sophia said tightly, "full of hard-working people building real lives." "How quaint," another woman said. "Did you grow up in one of those apartment complexes, the tall ones?" "Yes, a 2-bedroom. 2 bedrooms. The woman clutched her pearls. "For how many people?" "3. My mother, my brother, and me." 3 people in 2 bedrooms, Beatrice repeated slowly. "How cozy." The women exchanged glances, barely suppressed smirks playing at their lips. "And your brother," Beatrice continued, "what does he do?" "Let me guess, construction." "No, wait, something in food service, perhaps." Sophia's jaw clenched. She could tell them the truth that Arthur was a self-made billionaire, one of the most successful tech entrepreneurs in the country. But something stopped her. Pride, maybe. Or the desire to see just how low these women would go. "He works in technology," Sophia said simply. "Ah, computers," one woman said dismissively. "How modern. I suppose someone has to fix them when they break." Sophia bit her tongue so hard she tasted blood. "Theo, darling," Beatrice called to her son, who was still absorbed in his phone. "Don't you have that conference call soon?" "Oh, yes, actually." Theo stood, kissing Sophia's cheek absently. "Sorry, love, this merger won't wait. You'll be fine here with Mother, won't you?" Before Sophia could protest, he was gone, striding out of the conservatory with his phone pressed to his ear. The moment he left, the energy in the room shifted. The pretense of civility evaporated like morning mist. "Now then," Beatrice said, setting down her teacup with deliberate care. "Let's have a real conversation, shall we, woman to woman." Sophia's heart began to race. "I know exactly what you are." Beatrice continued, her voice low and venomous. "I've seen dozens of girls like you. Pretty enough, smart enough to seem legitimate, hungry enough to latch onto the first wealthy man who shows you attention." "That's not—" "Don't interrupt me," Beatrice snapped. "You think you're clever, don't you? Playing the independent career woman, the self-made architect. But we both know the truth. You saw an opportunity and you took it. My son, my family name, our fortune. You saw your ticket out of Queens." "You don't know anything about me," Sophia said, her voice shaking with rage. "I know everything about you," Beatrice shot back. "I know you're counting on this marriage to transform your pathetic little life. I know you're probably already planning how to spend Kensington money, how to redecorate the townhouse, which country clubs to join." The other women leaned forward, feeding off the conflict like vampires. "I love Theo," Sophia said, her voice breaking. "That's the only truth that matters." Beatrice laughed a harsh, brittle sound. "Love? How adorable. Let me tell you about love, dear. Love doesn't pay for mansions. Love doesn't maintain status. Love doesn't preserve centuries of legacy and breeding." "Breeding?" Sophia couldn't believe what she was hearing. "This isn't the 18th century." "No, but standards still matter. Lineage still matters. The Kensington name means something. It's meant something for 200 years, and I will not watch it be dragged through the mud by some opportunistic little nobody from a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens." Sophia stood again, her whole body trembling. "I'm leaving." "Sit down." Beatrice's voice cracked like a whip. "No," Sophia said. "I don't have to listen to this." "You'll listen to whatever I tell you to listen to," Beatrice hissed, rising from her chair. "You're in my house, sitting at my table, wearing a ring that belonged to my grandmother. You'll show me the respect I'm owed." "Respect is earned," Sophia shot back, "and you haven't earned anything from me but contempt." The other women gasped. One actually clutched her chest as if she might faint. Beatrice's face turned red, a vein pulsing in her temple. "How dare you speak to me that way? Do you have any idea who I am? A bitter woman who's so afraid of losing control that she attacks anyone who threatens her carefully constructed world?" Sophia said the words pouring out now, unstoppable. "You hide behind your money and your name because you have nothing else. No warmth, no kindness, no real human connection. Just your mansion and your jewelry and your cruel little games. The silence that followed was absolute. Beatrice's hand shook as she reached for the crystal pitcher of ice water on the table. Sophia saw it happening, but couldn't quite believe it couldn't process what was about to occur. "You need to learn your place," Beatrice said, her voice eerily calm. The pitcher lifted, tilted. The water caught the afternoon sun streaming through the glass conservatory, refracting into tiny rainbows as it flew through the air. Then it hit Sophia full in the chest. The shock of cold water stole her breath. Ice cubes bounced off her collarbone and scattered across the marble floor. Lemon slices stuck to her dress, her hair, her skin. Water streamed down her face, her neck soaking through her carefully chosen outfit until it clung to her body. The women around the table erupted in shocked laughter, hands over mouths, eyes wide with malicious glee. Sophia stood frozen, dripping, humiliated beyond measure. Water pooled at her feet. A piece of lemon slid down her cheek. Beatrice set the empty pitcher down with exaggerated care, her expression triumphant. "Oops," she said, her voice dripping with false innocence. "How clumsy of me." More laughter rippled through the room. Sophia's hands clenched into fists at her sides. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to flee, to escape this nightmare. But she wouldn't give them the satisfaction. She wouldn't break. She stood there, water dripping from her hair, her chin lifted high, her eyes blazing with fury and determination. "Is that the best you can do?" Sophia said quietly. Beatrice's smile faltered for just a moment. The door to the conservatory suddenly burst open with such force that the glass panes rattled in their frames. Everyone turned. A man stood in the doorway, backlit by the afternoon sun, streaming through the main hall, his silhouette broad and imposing. He was flanked by two men in dark suits, clearly security. His presence commanded immediate attention, sucking all the air from the room. He stepped forward into the light. Arthur Hayes wore a charcoal Tom Ford suit that fit him like it had been painted on. His watch caught the light, a Patek Philippe, that cost more than some cars. His shoes were Italian leather, polished to a mirror shine. Everything about him screamed power money success, but it was his face that made Beatrice's smile vanish completely. Arthur's expression was carved from ice, his dark eyes scanning the scene with cold precision. He took in Sophia standing there, soaked and humiliated, the empty pitcher in Beatrice's hand, the circle of laughing women. His jaw clenched. "Hello, little sister," Arthur said, his voice deceptively soft. "I see you've met my future in-laws." Sophia's breath caught. "Arthur, what are you doing here?" "Saving you from these vultures," he said, his eyes never leaving Beatrice. "Though it looks like I'm a few minutes too late." Beatrice had gone pale, her hand still gripping the empty pitcher. Who are you?" Arthur smiled, and it was the most terrifying expression Sophia had ever seen on her brother's face. "I'm Arthur Hayes, CEO of Hayes Technologies. Net worth approximately $8.3 billion at last count, though the market's been volatile lately, so that number fluctuates." The women around the table had stopped laughing. They sat frozen, looks of dawning horror spreading across their faces. "You're the Arthur Hayes," one woman whispered. "The tech billionaire, the very same." Arthur walked slowly into the conservatory, his security team flanking him. "And this woman you just assaulted with a pitcher of ice water. She's not just some nobody from Queens. She's my sister, my only family, the person I love most in this world." Beatrice's face had gone from pale to ashen. The pitcher slipped from her hand and shattered on the marble floor, crystal fragments scattering like diamonds. "I've been monitoring this situation for a while now." Arthur continued, his voice conversational, but his eyes deadly. "Ever since Theo proposed. Did you really think I wouldn't investigate the family my sister was marrying into, that I wouldn't keep tabs on how you treated her?" "This is a private family matter," Beatrice said, trying to recover her composure, but her voice shook. Arthur corrected. "It was a private family matter. Now it's business, and business is what I do best." He pulled a folder from inside his jacket and dropped it on the tea table. It landed with a heavy thud, scattering teacups. "That's the deed to this estate," Arthur said. "Or rather, it was the deed. As of this morning, I own it, along with the townhouse in Manhattan, the villa in Tuscany, and the ski chalet in Aspen." Beatrice grabbed the folder with shaking hands, her eyes scanning the documents inside. The color drained completely from her face. "You can't! This isn't possible!" "Oh, it's very possible," Arthur said. "The Kensington family has been hemorrhaging money for years. Bad investments, declining business interests, maintenance costs on properties you can't afford. You've been mortgaging your legacy piece by piece just to maintain appearances. All I had to do was buy up the debt, and now I own everything." One of the women at the table dropped her teacup. It shattered against the marble, the sound sharp and final in the sudden silence. Arthur Hayes stood in the doorway like a force of nature, his presence so commanding that even the air seemed to still around him. The afternoon light caught the edges of his tailored suit, the glint of his watch, the cold determination in his eyes. Behind him, 2 security personnel in dark suits flanked the entrance, their expressions professionally blank, but their postures alert. Sophia's heart lurched. "Arthur." Her brother's gaze swept over her, taking in every detail. The water still dripping from her hair, the ruined dress clinging to her body, the lemon slices scattered across the floor, the empty pitcher in Beatrice's trembling hand. His jaw tightened, a muscle twitching beneath his skin. "Hello, little sister." His voice was soft, almost conversational, but underneath ran a current of barely controlled fury. "I see you've been made to feel welcome." Beatrice had gone rigid, her face draining of color. "Who are you? How dare you burst into my home without your home?" Arthur's laugh was sharp as broken glass. He stepped fully into the conservatory, his shoes clicking against the marble with measured precision. "That's interesting, because according to the documents filed with the county clerk's office at 9:15 this morning, this hasn't been your home for approximately 6 hours. The woman with too much Botox made a strangled sound. Another clutched at her pearl necklace. "What are you talking about?" Beatrice's voice had gone shrill. "This estate has been in the Kensington family for 214 years. I know." Arthur pulled a leather folder from inside his jacket. "I did my research. Very thorough research. The kind of research that reveals when a family has been living far beyond their means for the past 2 decades. He dropped the folder onto the tea table. It landed with a heavy thud, scattering the remaining teacups. Several crashed to the floor. "That's impossible," Beatrice whispered, but her hand shook as she reached for the folder. "Open it," Arthur said. It wasn't a suggestion. Beatrice's fingers fumbled with the leather binding. She pulled out the first document, her eyes scanning the legal text. The paper trembled in her grip. Her face went from pale to ashen to a sickly gray. "You can't," she breathed. "This isn't legal. This can't be—" "It's completely legal. I had 12 lawyers verify every document." Arthur circled the table slowly, like a predator stalking prey. "Let me give you the summary, since legal jargon can be so tedious. The Kensington family has been hemorrhaging money for years. Your husband's investments failed spectacularly in 2008. You mortgaged this estate to maintain your lifestyle. Then you mortgaged the Manhattan townhouse, then the villa in Tuscany, the ski chalet in Aspen, the beach house in the Hamptons. Each property he listed landed like a physical blow." Beatrice swayed on her feet. "You've been drowning in debt," Arthur continued, "playing a very dangerous game of robbing Peter to pay Paul, moving money around, taking out new loans to cover old ones, all to maintain the illusion of wealth, the appearance of status." "How do you know this?" one of the other women demanded, her voice sharp with panic. "This is private financial information." "Private." Arthur turned his cold gaze on her. "Mrs. Vanderbilt, isn't it? Your husband sits on the board of Cheswick Financial, the same bank that holds 3 of the Kensington mortgages. Did you really think I couldn't access those records, that I didn't have people who could get me anything I needed?" Mrs. Vanderbilt's mouth opened and closed like a fish. Arthur turned back to Beatrice. "I've spent the last 3 months buying up every piece of Kensington debt I could find, and believe me, there was a lot of it. Your creditors were more than happy to sell. Do you know why?" Beatrice didn't answer. She couldn't. She stood frozen, the documents hanging from her limp hands. "Because you're a bad investment," Arthur said. "Everyone knows the Kensington empire is collapsing. They were thrilled to dump your toxic debt onto someone else. Except I'm not someone else. I'm the brother of the woman you just assaulted with a pitcher of ice water." Sophia finally found her voice. "Arthur, what did you do?" He looked at her, and for just a moment, his expression softened. "What I should have done the moment Theo brought you here. I protected you." "You bought their debt," Sophia said slowly, her mind racing to catch up. "You bought all of it." "Every penny, and when you consolidate debt, you get to make certain demands, like immediate repayment, or—" He paused, letting the word hang in the air. "Foreclosure." The gasp that went around the table was almost comical. "You foreclosed on the estate," another woman said, her voice rising to a shriek. "You can't do that. There are laws, procedures." "All of which I followed to the letter," Arthur said. "I gave the required notice, 30 days as specified by New York state law. The notice was delivered to the Kensington family attorney exactly 31 days ago." Beatrice's head snapped up. "That's a lie. We never received—" "Charles Pemberton, attorney at law, signed for it personally." Arthur pulled out his phone, tapped the screen a few times, then turned it to show Beatrice. "There's his signature, time-stamped, legally binding." "Charles wouldn't," Beatrice said, but her voice had gone weak. "He's been our family attorney for 30 years. He wouldn't betray us." "He didn't betray you. He followed the law. He received the notice. He contacted you about it." Arthur's smile was sharp. "Or did you ignore those calls from his office, the ones marked urgent, the certified letters you refused to sign for?" The color drained completely from Beatrice's face. "You ignored them," Sophia realized. "You thought they were about something you could handle later." "I thought," Beatrice said, her voice barely above a whisper, "that they were about the usual matters, estate maintenance, tax considerations. I didn't think—" "You didn't think someone would actually call in your debts." Arthur finished the sentence for her. "You thought your name, your status, your connections would protect you forever, that no one would dare challenge the great Kensington family." He moved closer, invading Beatrice's personal space, forcing her to look up at him. "But I'm not impressed by your name. I'm not intimidated by your social standing. I built my fortune from nothing. From a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens where my mother worked herself to exhaustion so my sister and I could have food on the table and clothes on our backs. I understand real struggle, real sacrifice, real worth." Sophia felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she refused to let them fall. "Not here, not in front of these people." "So when I discovered that the woman my sister loved," Arthur continued, his voice dropping to something dangerous, "was marrying into a family that looked down on her, that mocked her background, that treated her like garbage, I did what any good brother would do. I made sure I had leverage." "This is extortion," Beatrice hissed. "No, this is business. Perfectly legal business." Arthur stepped back, addressing the entire room now. "And as of this morning, I don't just own the debt, I own the properties, all of them. The estate, the townhouse, the villa, the chalet, the beach house, everything." The room erupted into chaos. Women talking over each other, voices shrill with panic and disbelief. "That's not possible. You can't just take someone's home. This is America, there are laws." Arthur let them spiral for a moment, then held up one hand. The gesture was small, but the authority behind it was absolute. The room fell silent. "There are indeed laws," he said, "and I followed every single one. You want to challenge this, be my guest. I have a legal team that will bury you in paperwork for the next decade. I have resources you can't even imagine. I have the patience to drag this out until you're all bankrupt from legal fees alone." "Why?" Beatrice's voice cracked. "Why would you do this?" Arthur pointed at Sophia. "Look at her. Really, look at her." Everyone turned. Sophia stood there, still dripping wet, her ruined dress clinging to her body mascara, probably running down her face, but her chin held high and her eyes blazing. "That woman," Arthur said, "is worth more than everyone in this room combined. She put herself through school while working 2 jobs. She graduated top of her class. She's designed buildings that will house thousands of families who couldn't otherwise afford decent shelter. She's kind, brilliant, talented, and strong, and you threw water on her like she was a dog that needed to be taught a lesson." Beatrice's hand went to her throat. "So yes," Arthur said, "I destroyed your life, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat." The door to the conservatory opened again. Theo rushed in, his phone still in his hand, his face flushed. "What's going on? I heard shouting. Mother, why is there broken glass everywhere, Sophia? Why are you wet?" The question was so absurd, so perfectly clueless, that Sophia almost laughed. Almost. Your mother threw a pitcher of ice water on me, she said flatly. Theo blinked. What? Why would she do that? Because she's a vicious, cruel woman who can't stand the thought of her precious son marrying someone she considers beneath him, Arthur said. Now wait just a minute, Theo said, his voice rising. You can't talk about my mother that way. Who the hell are you? Arthur Hayes, Sophia's brother, the man who now owns your family's entire estate. Theo laughed. Actually laughed. That's ridiculous. This estate has been in my family for generations. You can't just... I can, and I did. Arthur gestured to the documents still scattered across the table. Read them yourself if you don't believe me. Theo grabbed the nearest paper, his eyes scanning the text. His face went through a rapid series of changes. Confusion, disbelief, dawning horror. This can't be real. Mother, tell me this isn't real. Beatrice said nothing. She'd sunk into a chair, her perfect posture finally crumbling. It's real, Arthur said. Your family is broke, has been for years. They've been living on borrowed money and borrowed time, and now the bill has come due. Theo turned to Sophia, his expression desperate. You knew about this. You knew your brother was planning this. No, Sophia said honestly. I had no idea. But your family, you must have... I didn't know, Sophia repeated more forcefully. But I'm not sorry he did it. Theo's face twisted. How can you say that this is my home, my family's legacy? Your mother just threw ice water on me in front of her friends, Sophia said, her voice shaking with anger. She called me a gold digger. She mocked my mother, my background, everything about me. And you weren't even in the room. You were on a phone call like you always are, completely oblivious to how your family treats me. I'm sure Mother didn't mean... She meant every word. Sophia took a step toward him. And you know what the worst part is? You knew. Deep down, you knew exactly what kind of person she is. You knew she'd treat me like this, and you brought me here anyway. That's not fair, Theo protested. I thought if she just got to know you, got to know me. Sophia's laugh was bitter. She didn't want to know me. She wanted to destroy me, to put me in my place, to make sure I understood that I would never be good enough for the Kensington family. One of the other women stood abruptly. I should go. This is clearly a family matter. Sit down, Mrs. Hartford, Arthur said without looking at her. Nobody leaves until I say so. Mrs. Hartford sat. You can't keep us here, she said, but her voice wavered. Can't I? Arthur pulled out his phone again. I have footage from the security cameras in this conservatory. High-definition video of Mrs. Kensington assaulting my sister. That's battery. A criminal offense. I wonder what the society pages would say about that, what your country club friends would think. The woman went white. You're blackmailing us, another woman said. I'm giving you a choice, Arthur corrected. Sit there quietly and witness how this plays out, or leave and deal with the consequences. Your call. Nobody moved. Theo ran his hands through his hair, his carefully styled appearance finally showing cracks. This is insane. You can't just take our home because Mother made a mistake. A mistake? Sophia's voice rose. She didn't trip and accidentally spill water. She looked me in the eye and threw it at me. She wanted to humiliate me, to break me. She was upset, Theo said weakly. You have to understand this whole situation has been stressful for her. Stressful for her. Sophia stared at him like she'd never seen him before. I'm the one who got engaged to a man whose mother hates me. I'm the one who's been trying to win over a woman who decided I wasn't good enough before we ever met. I'm the one standing here soaking wet and humiliated. But yes, let's talk about how stressful this is for your mother. Soph, please. Theo reached for her hand. Don't do this. Don't let him destroy everything. We can work this out. We can... Sophia jerked her hand away. Work what out exactly? Your mother just assaulted me. Your friends laughed. And you want me to what? Forgive and forget. Pretend this never happened. I want you to remember that you love me, Theo said, and for the first time there was real emotion in his voice. Fear. I want you to remember that we're supposed to get married, that we have a future together. Do we? Sophia asked quietly. Because I'm starting to wonder if you ever really saw me, or if you just saw someone who was convenient, someone who wouldn't make waves, someone who'd be grateful to marry into the Kensington family and wouldn't demand too much. That's not true, Theo said, but he couldn't quite meet her eyes. Arthur watched this exchange with an expression of cold satisfaction. She deserves better than you, Theo, better than this entire family, better than a man who can't even defend her when his own mother attacks her. You don't understand, Theo said desperately. Family is complicated. Mother has her ways, but she means well. She means well. Sophia's voice cracked. She threw water on me. She called me a gold digger in front of witnesses. She spent the entire afternoon tearing apart everything I am. That's not meaning well. That's cruelty. Beatrice finally spoke, her voice hoarse. I was protecting my son, protecting my family from someone who clearly only wants our money. You have no money, Arthur reminded her. That's the whole point. You're broke. You've been faking wealth for years, and now everyone's going to know it. You wouldn't dare, Beatrice whispered. Try me. Arthur's smile was cold. I can have this story on every news outlet in the city by tonight. Tech billionaire exposes society family's financial ruin. The Kensington name dragged through every tabloid, every gossip column, every social media platform. Your friends, your clubs, your entire social circle, knowing that you're frauds. Please, Beatrice said, and the words seemed to cost her everything. Please don't do this. I'll apologize. I'll make this right. You'll apologize, Arthur laughed. You think sorry fixes this. You humiliated my sister in front of your friends. You assaulted her. You treated her like she was nothing. And now you want to say sorry and have that make it better? What do you want? Beatrice asked, her voice breaking. Money. We can arrange. You don't have money, Arthur said again. That's what you're not understanding. You have nothing. No money, no property, no leverage, nothing. Then what do you want? Theo demanded. If you've already taken everything, what more could you possibly want? Arthur looked at Sophia. That's not my decision. It's hers. Every eye in the room turned to Sophia. She stood there, water still dripping from her hair, her dress ruined her heartbreaking. She'd come here hoping to win over Theo's family, to find a way to bridge their different worlds. Instead, she'd found cruelty, contempt, and a man she thought she loved who couldn't even stand up for her. Sophia, Theo said softly, please, tell your brother to give us back our home. Tell him this has gone far enough. We can move past this. I promise Mother will apologize properly. Things will be different. Will they? Sophia asked. Will your mother suddenly respect me? Will your friends stop looking down on me? Will you finally see me as an equal instead of a project? You're not a project, Theo insisted. Then what am I? Sophia challenged. Tell me right now in front of everyone, what am I to you? Theo opened his mouth, closed it, opened it again. You're my fiancé, the woman I'm going to marry. That's not what I asked. I love you, he said, but the words sounded hollow. Do you... Sophia pulled the engagement ring off her finger. The 2-carat diamond caught the light, glittering with false promise. Because love means standing by someone, defending them, protecting them, and you've done none of those things. Sophia, don't... Theo's voice rose in panic. Don't do this. Don't throw away what we have because of one bad afternoon. One bad afternoon. Sophia's laugh was sharp. This isn't about one afternoon. This is about every time you dismissed my concerns about your mother. Every time you told me I was overreacting. Every time you chose your family's comfort over my dignity. She held out the ring. Theo didn't take it. Please, I'm begging you, don't end this. We can work through it. I'll talk to Mother. I'll make her understand. She understands perfectly, Sophia said. She understands that she doesn't respect me and never will. The question is, do you... The silence stretched out painful and revealing. Of course I respect you, Theo finally said. Then why didn't you defend me? Sophia asked, and her voice broke on the question. Why did you leave me alone with them? Why did you let your mother treat me like garbage? I didn't know, Theo said desperately. I was on the phone. I didn't know what was happening. You could have stayed, Sophia said. You could have put down your phone and been present, but your business call was more important than making sure I was okay. She pressed the ring into his hand, closing his fingers around it. Sophia, no, Theo said, tears in his eyes now. Please, I love you. I'll do better. I promise I'll do better. I believe you try, Sophia said softly. But this isn't about trying anymore. This is about who we are, who you are, and I don't think you can be the person I need you to be. Not with this family, not with these expectations. She turned to Arthur. Can we go now? Arthur nodded once sharp and final. We can go. Wait! Beatrice struggled to her feet, her hands gripping the edge of the table. Wait, please. This doesn't have to end like this. We can talk. We can find a solution that works for everyone. There is no solution, Sophia said, her voice surprisingly steady. You made your position very clear. I was hasty, Beatrice said quickly. I reacted poorly. I can see now that I misjudged you. If you'll just give me another chance. Another chance to what? Sophia turned back to face her. To humiliate me differently, to find more creative ways to make me feel small. No, Beatrice's voice cracked. I was wrong. I see that now. You're clearly not what I thought. Your brother is Arthur Hayes. That changes everything. The words hung in the air like poison. Sophia felt something inside her chest twist and break. That changes everything, she repeated slowly. Not because I'm a good person. Not because I'm talented or kind or worthy, but because my brother is rich. Beatrice's mouth opened and closed. She'd revealed her true nature without even realizing it. Do you hear yourself? Sophia asked. 5 minutes ago, I was a gold-digging nobody from Queens. Now that you know Arthur is a billionaire, suddenly I'm acceptable. Suddenly I deserve basic human decency. That's not what I meant, Beatrice stammered. That's exactly what you meant. Arthur's voice cut through the room like a blade. You don't respect my sister. You respect money. You respect power. You respect the idea that she comes from wealth just like you do, even though your wealth is fake and hers is real. How dare you? One of the other women started, but Arthur silenced her with a look. No, he said. How dare all of you? How dare you sit there in your designer clothes and your jewelry and your mansions built on debt, looking down on people who actually work for a living, people who build things, create things, contribute something to the world beyond gossip and cruelty. Mrs. Vanderbilt stood up abruptly. I don't have to listen to this. Yes, you do, Arthur said, because I know about your husband's offshore accounts, the ones he uses to hide assets from the IRS. I know about the insider trading investigation that's quietly building against him. I know things that could destroy your life just as thoroughly as I've destroyed the Kensingtons. So sit down and be quiet. She sat her face white as chalk. Anyone else want to try leaving? Arthur asked the room. No one moved. Theo still held the engagement ring, staring at it like he couldn't quite process what had happened. Sophia, please, don't leave like this. We can fix this. I'll make Mother apologize properly. I'll do whatever you want. Whatever I want? Sophia's laugh was bitter. I wanted you to love me enough to stand up for me. I wanted you to see me as an equal. I wanted a partner, not someone who'd throw me to the wolves to avoid family conflict. I do see you as an equal, Theo protested. No, you don't. Sophia's voice was quiet but certain. You see me as a project, someone you could mold into the perfect Kensington wife. Someone grateful enough for the opportunity that she wouldn't demand too much or make waves or expect you to actually choose her over your mother. That's not true, Theo said, but his voice lacked conviction. Isn't it? Then why did you leave me alone with her? Why didn't you stay to make sure I was okay? Why was a business call more important than your fiancé meeting your family for the first time? Theo's face flushed. That call was about the merger. It was important. And I wasn't... The question hung between them unanswered. Arthur checked his watch. We're wasting time. Sophia, you wanted to leave. Let's leave. But Beatrice wasn't done. She moved around the table, her movements desperate, her perfect composure shattered completely. Please, you don't understand what you're doing. This estate, it's been in our family for over 2 centuries. My children grew up here. My grandchildren were supposed to grow up here. You can't just take it away. I can, and I did, Arthur said. And frankly, I think it's poetic justice. You wanted to make my sister feel like she didn't belong anywhere. Now you can experience that same feeling. Where will we go? Beatrice whispered. We have nowhere else. You have the same options everyone else has when they lose their home, Arthur said. Figure it out. Downsize. Rent an apartment. Get jobs. The horror on Beatrice's face would have been comical if the situation weren't so dire. "Jobs," Mrs. Hartford gasped. "Beatrice has never worked a day in her life." "Then maybe it's time she started," Sophia said. The words came out harder than she intended, but she didn't take them back. Theo grabbed Sophia's arm. "How can you be so cruel? This is my family. These are my memories." Sophia pulled her arm free. "Your mother threw water on me. Your friends laughed while I stood there humiliated. And you want to talk to me about cruelty?" "That's different," Theo said desperately. How is it different?" "Because this is our home, our legacy. You're taking away everything we are." "No," Sophia said. "I'm not taking anything. Arthur is, and he's taking things property money. Your mother tried to take my dignity, my self-worth, my sense of belonging. Those things matter more than any estate." One of Arthur's security guards spoke quietly into his earpiece, then leaned close to Arthur. "Sir, the media has started gathering at the front gate. Someone tipped them off." Arthur's smile was sharp. Perfect timing. Beatrice's head snapped up. "The media number no. You can't let them see this. You can't let them know." "Why not?" Arthur asked. "Afraid of what people will think. Afraid the society pages will run stories about the great Kensington family's fall from grace." "Please," Beatrice begged. "Please, I'll do anything. Just don't let this become public." "Anything?" Arthur's eyebrow raised. "That's interesting, because 5 minutes ago you were too proud to genuinely apologize to my sister." "I'm sorry," Beatrice said quickly, turning to Sophia. "I'm truly sorry. I was wrong about you. I shouldn't have judged you. I shouldn't have treated you that way. Please forgive me." The words tumbled out fast and desperate, completely lacking the sincerity of real remorse. "You're not sorry," Sophia said quietly. "You're scared. There's a difference." "I am sorry," Beatrice insisted. "I swear I am. I'll make it up to you. I'll tell everyone how wonderful you are. I'll sponsor you at the club. I'll introduce you to everyone important. I'll—" "Stop," Sophia said, her voice firm. "Just stop. You still don't get it, do you? I don't want your sponsorship. I don't want your introductions. I don't want anything from you except to never see you again." Beatrice recoiled as if she'd been slapped. The security guard spoke again to Arthur. "Sir, the reporters are requesting a statement." "Tell them I'll be out in 5 minutes," Arthur said. He looked at Beatrice. "You have 5 minutes to decide how this plays out. Option 1, you accept what's happened with dignity. You leave quietly. You don't contest the foreclosure. You don't make trouble. In exchange, I'll make sure the media coverage focuses on the business side of things. Corporate acquisitions, financial restructuring, boring stuff that won't destroy you socially." "And option 2, Beatrice asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "Option 2, you fight me. You try to contest the foreclosure. You make accusations. You try to turn public opinion against me. And in response, I release everything. The full extent of your debt, your husband's failed investments, the bankruptcy you've been avoiding through creative accounting, the creditors you've been dodging, every sordid financial detail. I'll make sure everyone knows that the Kensington fortune has been a lie for years." The women around the table looked at each other with panicked expressions. "Plus," Arthur continued, "I'll release the security footage of you assaulting my sister, high-definition video of you throwing water on a defenseless woman. Let's see how your social circle reacts to that." Beatrice swayed on her feet. Theo caught her arm, steadying her. "You're a monster," Theo said to Arthur. "No," Arthur replied calmly. "I'm a brother. There's a difference." Sophia touched Arthur's arm. "Can I talk to you privately?" Arthur looked at her, his expression softening slightly. "Of course." They stepped to the far side of the conservatory, away from the others. Arthur's security guards moved to block the view, giving them a moment of privacy. "You didn't have to do this," Sophia said quietly. "Yes, I did," Arthur replied. "Did you see your face when I walked in? You were trying so hard to be strong, but I could see how much they'd hurt you. I could see it, Soph, and I couldn't let them get away with it." "But you took their home, their entire life." "They took yours first." Arthur's voice was fierce. "They tried to make you feel like you didn't deserve happiness, like you weren't good enough, like you should be grateful for scraps from their table. That's worse than taking a house." Sophia felt tears burning behind her eyes. "I thought I loved him. I really thought Theo was different." "He's not," Arthur said gently. "He's exactly like them. Maybe a little nicer, a little more oblivious, but he's still one of them. He'll always choose his family over you. He'll always prioritize their comfort over your dignity." "I know," Sophia whispered. "I know that now." Arthur pulled her into a hug, careful of her wet clothes. "You deserve so much better. Someone who'll fight for you. Someone who'll stand beside you no matter what. Someone who sees your worth without needing a bank statement to prove it." Sophia buried her face in her brother's shoulder, finally letting a few tears fall. "What do I do now?" "Now." Arthur pulled back his hands on her shoulders. "Now you hold your head high, you walk out of here, and you let me handle the rest. What are you going to do?" "That depends on them." Arthur glanced back at the group huddled around the table. "If they're smart, they'll take option 1. If they're not, well, I've got a very expensive legal team that loves a good fight." Sophia took a shaky breath. "I don't want revenge. I just want to be done with all of this." "I know. But you also don't want them doing this to someone else, do you? The next girl who isn't rich enough or connected enough, the next person they decide to humiliate." Sophia thought about that. She thought about other women sitting in this conservatory, facing Beatrice's cruelty, drowning in the laughter of people who'd never worked a day in their lives. "No," she said finally, "I don't want that." "Then let me do this. Let me make sure they understand that actions have consequences, that money doesn't make you untouchable, that treating people like garbage comes with a price." Sophia nodded slowly. "Okay." They walked back to the group. Beatrice looked up hopefully, desperately searching Sophia's face for signs of mercy. "Have you decided?" Arthur asked her. "What choice do I have?" Beatrice said bitterly. "You've backed me into a corner." "You backed yourself into a corner the moment you threw that water," Arthur corrected. "I'm just holding you accountable." "Fine," Beatrice said. "Option 1, we'll leave quietly. We won't contest anything. Just please keep our financial situation private." "Smart choice," Arthur said. He pulled out his phone and made a call. "Jenkins, yeah, send out statement number 3. Corporate acquisition angle. Keep it dry and boring." He paused, listening. "No, don't mention the assault. Not unless they force my hand." He hung up and looked at Beatrice. "You have 24 hours to vacate the property. Take your personal belongings. Family photos, clothes, small valuables. Everything else stays. Furniture, art, vehicles, all of it. That's part of the estate." 24 hours. Theo's voice rose. "That's impossible. We need time to find somewhere to go to make arrangements." "You should have thought of that before your mother decided to assault my sister," Arthur said coldly. 24 hours, and if you remove anything that's not explicitly personal property, I'll add theft charges to the battery charges I'm already sitting on. Mrs. Vanderbilt stood up again, her movements shaky. "Can we go now, please?" "Yes," Arthur said. "All of you can go. Except I'd think very carefully about what you say when you leave here. Remember, I know things about all of you, things you'd prefer stayed private. So if I hear rumors, if I hear gossip, if I hear anything that damages my sister's reputation, there will be consequences." The women gathered their purses with trembling hands. They moved toward the door like prisoners being released, not quite believing they were free to go. Mrs. Hartford paused at the door. "For what it's worth, I never liked you anyway, Beatrice. You've always been insufferable." She walked out. Another woman followed. "This is what you get for years of looking down on everyone. Karma's a bitch." One by one they abandoned Beatrice. The women who'd laughed at Sophia's humiliation, who'd enabled Beatrice's cruelty, now turned on her without hesitation. Allies only when she had power, gone the moment she lost it. Soon, only Beatrice, Theo, Sophia, and Arthur remained in the conservatory. Theo looked at the ring still clutched in his hand. "I really did love you, you know. This wasn't about money for me." "Maybe not," Sophia said. "But it wasn't about me either, not really. It was about the idea of me, the woman you thought you could shape me into." "That's not fair," Theo said. "Life isn't fair," Sophia replied. "I learned that today." She turned to Arthur. "Can we go now, please?" "Yeah," Arthur said. "We can go." Sophia walked toward the door, her wet shoes squelching slightly on the marble. She didn't look back, didn't give Theo or his mother the satisfaction of seeing her cry. She kept her chin up and her spine straight. Arthur followed his security guards, falling into step behind them. "Sophia, wait," Theo called out. "Please, this can't be how it ends. We were going to get married. We had plans. A future." Sophia stopped at the doorway but didn't turn around. "We had a fantasy. There's a difference." She walked out. The main hall of the estate stretched before her, all marble and portraits and expensive nothing. Arthur's car waited outside a sleek black sedan that probably cost more than most people made in 5 years. The driver opened the door. Sophia slid into the back seat, finally allowing herself to collapse. The leather was soft, the interior warm. Arthur climbed in beside her. "Home?" the driver asked. "Yes," Arthur said. "Home." As the car pulled away from the estate, Sophia finally looked back. Through the rear window, she could see Theo standing in the doorway, a small figure dwarfed by the mansion's grand entrance. He looked lost, broken. She felt a pang of something, not quite regret, not quite pity, just sadness for what could have been if he'd been a different person, if they'd both been different people. "You okay?" Arthur asked quietly. "No," Sophia said honestly, "but I will be." "Yeah, you will." Arthur put his arm around her shoulders. "You're the strongest person I know, Soph. You always have been." "I don't feel strong right now." Strength isn't about how you feel. It's about what you do even when you feel weak. And you held your head high in there. You didn't break. You didn't beg. You didn't compromise yourself. That's strength. Sophia leaned against her brother's shoulder, exhaustion washing over her. The adrenaline was fading, leaving behind bone-deep weariness and the sting of heartbreak. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now you rest, you recover, you remember who you are and what you're worth." Arthur paused. "And then if you want, we make sure something good comes out of this." "What do you mean?" "That estate. It's yours now legally. I put it in your name. You can do whatever you want with it." Sophia sat up staring at him. "You gave it to me, why? Because you deserve it. Because Beatrice tried to make you feel small, and now you own her entire world. Because sometimes justice is poetic." "Arthur, I don't want it. I don't want anything from them." "I know. That's why I'm suggesting you use it for something good. Something that matters. Something that would drive Beatrice absolutely insane." A slow smile spread across Sophia's face as an idea formed. "I think I know exactly what to do with it." Yeah. Sophia's smile grew. "But I'm going to need your help." "You've got it," Arthur said without hesitation. "Whatever you need." The car pulled onto the highway, leaving the Kensington estate behind. Sophia watched it disappear in the distance, a monument to old money and older cruelty, and felt something shift inside her chest. She wasn't broken. She was angry. And she was going to turn that anger into something beautiful. 3 months later, Sophia stood in front of the Kensington estate with a clipboard in her hand and a team of contractors waiting for direction. The morning sun caught the windows, making the old mansion gleam like it had been reborn. "The East Wing needs complete renovation," she told Marcus, her lead contractor. "I want it converted into living quarters, 20 units minimum. Each one needs to be fully accessible, safe, and comfortable." Marcus nodded, making notes. "And the West Wing. Community spaces. Therapy rooms, childcare center, legal consultation offices, job training facilities." Sophia's voice was steady, confident. This was her element. This was what she did best. "I want this place to actually serve a purpose instead of just sitting here looking pretty." "Ms. Hayes," one of the workers called out, "we found something in the main ballroom. You should see this." Sophia followed him inside. The ballroom was massive, with crystal chandeliers and polished floors that had hosted countless society events. Now it was going to host something far more important. The worker pointed to a portrait hanging above the fireplace. Beatrice Kensington stared down at them, painted in oils, wearing diamonds, and that same cold smile Sophia remembered so well. "Want us to take it down?" the worker asked. Sophia stared at the portrait for a long moment. "No, leave it up for now. I want her watching while we turn her precious estate into something that actually matters." Her phone buzzed. A text from Arthur. "Board meeting in an hour. Don't be late. And wear the navy suit. The one that says I own this room." Sophia smiled. 3 months ago, she'd been standing in a conservatory soaking wet and humiliated. Now she was about to present her shelter project to a board of investors who'd pledged over $20 million to the cause. She drove to Arthur's downtown office, her mind racing through her presentation points. The shelter would house up to 50 women and children escaping domestic violence. It would provide legal aid, job training, childcare therapy, and a pathway to independence. Everything she'd never had growing up, everything her mother had desperately needed when Sophia's father left. Arthur's assistant met her at the elevator. "They're ready for you, Ms. Hayes. Conference room A." Sophia walked in, and 12 faces turned toward her. Investors, philanthropists, business leaders, people with more money than most small countries, people who could make or break her project with a single vote. Arthur sat at the head of the table looking every inch the billionaire CEO. He gave her a slight nod. "Your show now." "Good morning," Sophia began, her voice clear. 3 months ago, I inherited a property that represented everything wrong with wealth. A monument to excess, to cruelty, to the idea that money makes you better than other people. Today I'm going to tell you how we're transforming that property into something that represents everything right about having resources, a shelter for women who need it most. She clicked to her first slide. Floor plans of the renovated estate. The Haven House will provide safe housing for up to 50 women and children fleeing domestic violence. But we're not just giving them a place to sleep. We're giving them a foundation to rebuild their lives. One investor, a silver-haired woman named Catherine, raised her hand. "Ms. Hayes, there are already domestic violence shelters in the area. What makes yours different?" "Yours different. Most shelters have a 30-day limit," Sophia explained. 30 days to heal from trauma, find a job, secure housing, and get back on your feet. That's not realistic. Our residents can stay up to 2 years. We provide job training, legal assistance therapy, childcare, and career counseling. We help them build actual independence, not just escape immediate danger. "That sounds expensive," another investor said. "It is," Sophia agreed. "That's why I'm asking for your help. The estate itself is paid for. I own it outright. But renovations, staffing, programming, that all requires capital. I'm asking for $20 million in initial funding with a plan for sustainability through grants, donations, and a social enterprise program where residents can earn income through cottage industries." A man in an expensive suit leaned forward. "I've seen a lot of charity projects fail because they're run by bleeding hearts with no business sense. What makes you think you can manage something this complex?" Before Sophia could answer, Arthur spoke up. "Because she's the best architect I know. Because she's spent her entire career designing affordable housing that actually works. Because she grew up with a single mother who worked herself to exhaustion, and she understands exactly what these women need. And because I've vetted her business plan personally, and it's solid." The investor looked at Arthur, then back at Sophia. "You grew up poor. I grew up in a 2-bedroom apartment in Queens," Sophia said, meeting his gaze without flinching. "My mother was a nurse who worked double shifts. My brother and I wore second-hand clothes. I know what it's like to worry about rent, about food, about whether we'd have a place to live next month. That's why this matters to me." Catherine smiled. "That's exactly why I'm voting yes. We need people running charities who actually understand the problems they're trying to solve." The discussion continued for another hour. Questions about budgets, staffing, sustainability outcomes. Sophia answered each one with facts, figures, and passion. She showed them testimonials from other shelters, success stories, research data. She made them see not just the numbers, but the women whose lives would change. Finally, Arthur called for a vote. 12 hands went up. Unanimous approval. Sophia felt her knees go weak with relief. "Thank you, all of you. You have no idea what this means." "Actually," Catherine said, "I think we do. My daughter left an abusive marriage 3 years ago. She stayed in a shelter for 2 weeks before they had to turn her out to make room for someone else. She ended up going back to her husband because she had nowhere else to go. He put her in the hospital a month later." The room went silent. "She survived," Catherine continued, her voice thick with emotion. "She got out, eventually found help elsewhere. But I've always wondered how many women don't survive. How many go back because they have no other options. So yes, Ms. Hayes, I know exactly what this means." After the meeting, Sophia collapsed into a chair in Arthur's office. "I can't believe that just happened." Arthur said, pouring her a glass of water. You were brilliant in there. Professional, passionate, prepared. You made them believe in the project. $20 million, Sophia said, still processing. That's real. That's going to change lives. It already has. Arthur sat across from her. Yours for starters. 3 months ago, you were engaged to a man who didn't deserve you trying to win over a family that would never accept you. Now, look at you. Sophia's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Sophia, it's Theo. Her stomach dropped. She hadn't heard his voice since that day in the conservatory. What do you want? She asked, her tone cold. I need to talk to you, please, just 5 minutes. I don't think that's a good idea. Please, his voice cracked. I'm begging you. Just 5 minutes. There's a coffee shop on 5th and Madison. I'll be there in an hour. If you don't show up, I'll never bother you again. He hung up before she could respond. Arthur had heard the whole thing. You're not seriously considering going? I don't know, Sophia said. Maybe I need closure. Maybe I need to hear what he has to say. He's going to try to manipulate you, to make you feel guilty, to get you to give back the estate. I know. But I also know I can handle it now. I'm not the same person I was 3 months ago. Arthur studied her face. You're really going? Yeah, I am. Then I'm coming with you. No, Sophia said firmly. This is something I need to do alone. An hour later, Sophia walked into the coffee shop. It was small, quiet, the kind of place that sold $5 lattes and had uncomfortable modern furniture. Theo sat in the corner looking like he'd aged 10 years in 3 months. His suit was still expensive, but it hung on him differently now. He'd lost weight. There were dark circles under his eyes. His usual polished appearance had frayed at the edges. You came, he said, standing up too quickly. I wasn't sure you would. You have 5 minutes, Sophia said, not sitting down. Talk. Theo gestured to the chair across from him. Please, sit. I bought you a latte. Vanilla like you used to get. Sophia remained standing. 4 minutes and 30 seconds. Theo's face crumpled. God, Sophia, I've missed you. I've missed you so much. Is that what you called me here to say? No, I mean yes, but... He ran his hand through his hair. Everything's fallen apart. The wedding's canceled, obviously. Mother's barely speaking to me. The family's reputation is destroyed. We're living in a rental apartment in New Jersey, Sophia. Do you have any idea how humiliating that is? Is this seriously what you wanted to talk about? Sophia asked, her voice dangerously quiet. How hard your life has been. No, I'm explaining. Theo stopped, took a breath. I'm trying to explain why I need your help. There it was, the real reason for this meeting. My help, Sophia repeated flatly. The estate. If you could just consider selling it back to us. We'd pay you, obviously. Maybe not immediately, but we'd work out a payment plan. We could get investors restructure. No. The word landed like a hammer. You didn't even let me finish, Theo protested. I don't need to. The answer is no. The estate is being converted into a women's shelter. Construction started 2 weeks ago. Theo's face went pale. A shelter. You're turning my family's home into a shelter. Yes, for women escaping domestic violence, women who need help, who need safety, who need someone to actually give a damn about them. That's vindictive, Theo said, his voice rising. You're doing this to hurt my mother. I'm doing this to help people who need it. If it happens to drive your mother insane, that's just a bonus. How can you be so cruel? This is my family's legacy you're destroying. Sophia leaned forward, her hands on the table. Your family's legacy is cruelty. It's looking down on people. It's making others feel small to make yourselves feel big. I'm not destroying that legacy. I'm replacing it with something better. We could have worked things out, Theo said desperately. You and me. We were good together. We could have been happy. No, we couldn't, because you would always put your family first. You would always choose your mother's approval over my dignity. You proved that. I've changed, Theo insisted. These past 3 months, they've changed me. I see things differently now. You see things differently because you lost everything. If you still had money, if your mother still had power, you'd be exactly the same person you were. Theo's jaw clenched. That's not fair. Life isn't fair. You taught me that. I loved you, Theo said, and tears actually formed in his eyes. I still love you." "No, you don't. You love the idea of me. You love what I represented, the sweet, grateful girl from Queens who'd be so thankful to marry into the Kensington family. But I'm not that girl, I never was." "Then who are you?" Theo asked. "I'm Sophia Hayes. I'm an architect. I'm a woman who knows her worth. I'm someone who doesn't need a man or a family name or a fancy estate to prove I matter. And I'm someone who's done wasting time on people who don't value me." She turned to leave. "Wait," Theo called out. "Please, just tell me one thing. Did you ever really love me? Or was it always about getting back at people like us?" Sophia stopped, looked back at him. "I loved who I thought you were. The man you pretended to be when it was just the two of us. The man who seemed kind and thoughtful and different from his family. But that man doesn't exist. He never did. You're exactly like them, Theo. You just hide it better." She walked out, leaving her untouched latte on the table. Outside, she pulled out her phone and called Arthur. "Can you send a car? I'm done here." "That fast." He wanted me to sell back the estate, to help his family recover, to pretend the last 3 months didn't happen. Arthur swore. "What did you tell him?" "I told him no. I told him about the shelter. I told him the truth." "How do you feel?" Sophia thought about it. "Free. I feel free." The car arrived 10 minutes later. As it pulled away from the coffee shop, Sophia saw Theo standing in the window watching her leave. He looked broken, lost, pathetic. She felt nothing. Not anger, not satisfaction, not even pity. Just nothing. He was part of her past now, a chapter that was closed. Her phone buzzed with a text from the shelter's future director, Maria Rodriguez, a woman who'd spent 20 years working with domestic violence survivors. "Just toured the property. Sophia, this is incredible. The women are going to feel so safe here, so valued. Thank you for making this happen." Sophia smiled, typed back a response. "Thank you for agreeing to run it. You're going to change lives." Another text came through, this one from an unknown number. She almost deleted it, but curiosity made her open it. "This is Beatrice Kensington. We need to talk. It's urgent." Sophia stared at the message for a long moment, then showed it to the driver. "Change of plans. Take me to Arthur's office. Now." She called Arthur. "Beatrice just texted me. She wants to talk." "About what?" "She says it's urgent. Don't respond. Don't engage. She's trying to manipulate you." "I know, but I'm curious what she wants." "Sophia, I'm not going to meet her. I'm not that stupid, but I want to know what she's planning." She texted back. "Whatever you have to say it now. I'm not meeting with you." The response came immediately. "I'm dying. Stage 4 cancer. I have 6 months, maybe less. Before I go, I need to make things right." Sophia's hand trembled. She read the message 3 times, trying to process it. "What did she say?" Arthur asked, still on the phone. "She says she has cancer. Stage 4, 6 months to live." Silence on the other end of the line. "It could be a lie," Arthur finally said. "A manipulation tactic." "I know. But you're not sure." "No, I'm not sure." Sophia stared out the window, watching the city blur past. 3 months ago, Beatrice Kensington had thrown water on her, humiliated her, tried to destroy her sense of self-worth. And now she was claiming to be dying, wanting to make amends. "What do I do?" Sophia asked quietly. "That's up to you," Arthur said. "But whatever you decide, I'm with you. Always." Sophia thought about the woman in the portrait staring down at construction workers, transforming her estate into a shelter. She thought about the cruelty in Beatrice's eyes, the venom in her voice, the calculated way she'd tried to break Sophia's spirit. But she also thought about the woman who'd raised Theo, who'd built a life around status and appearance, who was now facing death in a rental apartment in New Jersey. "I need to verify it first," Sophia said. "If she's really sick, her medical records would show it. Can you—" "I'll have someone check," Arthur said. "Give me 2 hours." "Thank you. Sophia, even if it's true, you don't owe her anything. You know that, right?" "I know, but I need to decide for myself what kind of person I want to be, and I can't do that if I'm just reacting to what she did to me." 2 hours later, Arthur called back. "It's true. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer, diagnosed 6 weeks ago. Prognosis is grim." Sophia closed her eyes. "Okay. What are you going to do?" I don't know yet. Let me think about it. She spent the rest of the day at the construction site watching workers transform the Kensington estate. The ballroom where society women had gossiped was being converted into a communal dining area. The conservatory where Beatrice had thrown water on her was becoming a children's play space. The bedrooms where generations of Kensingtons had slept were being divided into safe, comfortable apartments for women starting over. Maria found her standing in what used to be Beatrice's personal suite. "This room has the best light," Maria said. "We should make it the art therapy space." "Perfect," Sophia agreed. "You okay?" Maria asked, studying Sophia's face. "You seem distracted." "Just processing some news." Sophia paused. "Can I ask you something? If someone who hurt you deeply was dying, would you forgive them?" Maria was quiet for a moment. "That's a complicated question. Forgiveness isn't about them, it's about you. About whether carrying that anger is helping or hurting you. What if they don't deserve forgiveness? Forgiveness isn't about what someone deserves, it's about what you need to move forward." Maria touched Sophia's arm gently. "But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. You can forgive someone and still keep them out of your life. You can acknowledge their humanity while protecting your own peace." Sophia nodded slowly. "Thank you. That helps." That evening, she sat in her apartment with a glass of wine and her phone in her hand. Beatrice's message stared back at her. She typed a response. "I'm sorry you're sick, but I'm not interested in reconciliation. I hope you find peace." Before she could second-guess herself, she hit send. The response came almost immediately. "Please, I need to explain. I need you to understand why I did what I did." "I already understand. You were protecting your territory, your status, your way of life. I don't need an explanation." "You deserve one anyway. Please, one conversation. That's all I'm asking." Sophia stared at the message. Sophia set her phone down without responding. She wouldn't give Beatrice the satisfaction of an immediate answer. Let her wait. Let her feel what it was like to be powerless for once. Arthur called minutes later. "She contacted you, didn't she? How did you know?" "Because I just got a call from her attorney. She's trying to go around you, trying to find leverage. She wants a meeting." "What did you tell him?" "I told him to go to hell." Arthur paused. "But the decision is yours, Soph. Whatever you want to do, I'll support it." Sophia walked to her window, looking out at the city lights. Somewhere out there, Beatrice Kensington was dying in a rental apartment, her empire gone, her legacy crumbling, her time running out. "I'll meet with her," Sophia said finally. "But on my terms, at the estate. I want her to see what her precious home has become." "Are you sure that's a good idea?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." 2 days later, Sophia stood in the main entrance of the estate as a car pulled up. Beatrice emerged slowly, moving carefully, like every step hurt. She'd lost weight, her skin had a grayish tinge, and her once perfect posture had collapsed into a tired slump. But her eyes were still sharp, still calculating. "Thank you for seeing me," Beatrice said, her voice weaker than Sophia remembered. "Don't thank me yet." Sophia gestured to the entrance. "Come in. Let me show you what we've done with the place." Beatrice followed her inside. The grand entrance hall had been stripped of its pretension. The marble was still there, but now it was covered with cheerful rugs. The walls, once lined with portraits of stern ancestors, now displayed children's artwork and motivational quotes. "What have you done?" Beatrice whispered, her hand going to her chest. "I've made it useful," Sophia said. "This way." She led Beatrice through the transformed estate. The ballroom where society women had sipped champagne was now a dining hall with long tables where families could eat together. The conservatory, where Beatrice had thrown water on Sophia, was a bright play area filled with toys and laughter. "These are the living quarters," Sophia said, opening a door to show a comfortable apartment. "Each resident gets her own space, a bedroom, bathroom, small living area, privacy and dignity." Beatrice's face had gone pale. "You've destroyed it. 200 years of history and you've destroyed it." "I've given it purpose," Sophia corrected. "This building sat here for 2 centuries, serving maybe 50 people total. Now it'll serve hundreds, thousands over time." "This is my home," Beatrice said, her voice breaking. "Was. It was your home. Now it belongs to women who actually need it." They walked to what used to be Beatrice's personal suite. It was now the art therapy room filled with easels, paints, and natural light streaming through tall windows. Beatrice sank into a chair, suddenly looking every one of her 68 years. "Why did you agree to meet with me if you were just going to torture me?" "I'm not torturing you. I'm showing you reality. This is what your legacy has become, something that actually matters." "You hate me," Beatrice said. It wasn't a question. "No," Sophia said, surprising herself with the truth. "I don't hate you. I pity you." Beatrice's head snapped up. "Pity? You built your entire life around status and appearances. You measured your worth by how much you could look down on others. And now you're dying, and what do you have to show for it? A son who can barely look at you. A family name that's become a punchline. A legacy of cruelty." Tears formed in Beatrice's eyes. "You think I don't know that? You think I haven't realized what I've lost, what I threw away? Then why did you do it?" Sophia asked, genuinely curious now. "Why treat me that way? What did I ever do to you?" Beatrice was quiet for a long moment, staring at her hands. "You reminded me of someone." "Who?" "Myself, 40 years ago." Sophia sat down across from her, shocked. "What?" "I wasn't born a Kensington," Beatrice said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I was born Beatrice Murphy. My father was a plumber in Brooklyn. My mother cleaned houses. I grew up in a neighborhood not so different from Queens." Sophia's mind reeled. "You're lying." "I wish I was." Beatrice's laugh was bitter. "I met Richard Kensington at a charity gala. I was there serving drinks and he thought I was one of the guests. We started talking. He fell in love with the woman I pretended to be, educated, refined, from a good family. All lies. His family never knew. They suspected. His mother certainly did. She made my life hell for the first 10 years of our marriage. Every day was a test. Every social event was a minefield. One wrong fork, one mispronounced word, and she'd look at me like I was dirt on her shoe." Beatrice wiped her eyes. "So I worked. I studied. I learned how to be a Kensington. I buried Beatrice Murphy so deep that even I forgot she existed. And when Richard's mother finally died, I swore no one would ever make me feel that way again." "So you became her," Sophia realized. "You became the cruel mother-in-law. I became what I needed to be to survive, to protect my position, to make sure no one ever questioned whether I belonged. And when you met me, I saw everything I'd tried to escape, the working-class background, the lack of pedigree, the earnest belief that hard work and talent were enough." Beatrice's voice hardened. "I saw the girl who hadn't learned yet that the world doesn't care about merit. It cares about money and connections and knowing which fork to use. So you tried to break me before I could learn those lessons the hard way. I tried to save Theo from making the same mistake Richard made, from bringing someone into the family who didn't belong." "Except I did belong," Sophia said. "Not because of Arthur's money, because I'm a human being who deserves basic respect." "I know that now." Beatrice's shoulders slumped. "I know a lot of things now. Funny how facing death gives you clarity." "Is that why you wanted to see me, to confess your tragic backstory and expect forgiveness?" "No." Beatrice met Sophia's eyes. "I wanted to see you because I needed to know if you were going to become like me, if winning would turn you into the same kind of monster I became." Sophia leaned back, considering. "What's your verdict?" "You're not," Beatrice said. "You won, and instead of using your victory to hurt people, you're using it to help them. You took my home and turned it into something beautiful, something meaningful, something I never had the courage or decency to create." "You could have," Sophia said. "You had money influence time. You could have done anything with your life. Instead, you chose cruelty. I chose survival, or what I thought was survival." Beatrice stood slowly, wincing. "I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm just asking you to understand that the world breaks some people, and broken people break others. That's not an excuse. No, it's an explanation. There's a difference." Sophia walked Beatrice to the door. Outside, the car waited to take her back to New Jersey, back to her small rental apartment, back to her diminished life. "One more thing," Beatrice said. "Theo keeps asking about you, wondering if there's any chance—" "No," Sophia said firmly. Tell him to move on. I have. He really did love you, you know, in his own limited way. Limited love isn't enough. Not for me. Not anymore. Beatrice nodded slowly. You're stronger than I ever was. I threw water on you, humiliated you in front of my friends, and you stood there like a queen. I would have crumbled, would have run, would have believed everything they said about me. Maybe, Sophia said, but I had something you didn't. Your brother's money. My brother's love. Unconditional, unwavering love from someone who knew my worth even when I doubted it. You never had that. Beatrice's face crumpled. No, I never did. She got into the car without another word. Sophia watched it drive away, carrying the woman who'd tried to destroy her back into obscurity. Maria appeared at Sophia's side. Was that who I think it was? Yeah. How do you feel? Sophia thought about it. Lighter. Like I just set down something heavy I'd been carrying. Forgiveness will do that. I didn't forgive her, Sophia said quickly. Didn't you? Maria smiled. You let her see what you'd created. You listened to her story. You gave her a moment of your time when you could have slammed the door in her face. That's a kind of grace, even if it's not forgiveness. 3 weeks later, Sophia stood on a small stage in the estate's main hall. 50 chairs were filled with donors, community leaders, local politicians, and most importantly, the first 5 women who'd been accepted into the Haven House program. 6 months ago, Sophia began, her voice steady. This building represented everything wrong with wealth, excess, exclusivity, the idea that some people matter more than others. Today we're opening its doors to represent something better, safety, opportunity, the idea that everyone deserves a chance to start over. She looked at the women in the front row, a young mother with a black eye that was finally fading, a grandmother who'd been trapped in an abusive marriage for 40 years, a teenager who'd run away from home to escape her stepfather. This is for you, Sophia continued, for every woman who's been told she's worthless, for every mother who stayed in danger because she had nowhere else to go, for every person who needs someone to believe in them when they can't believe in themselves. Welcome home. The applause was thunderous. People stood wiping their eyes, reaching for each other's hands. Arthur stood in the back, beaming with pride. He caught Sophia's eye and nodded once. You did it, kid. After the ceremony, reporters clustered around Sophia. Questions flew fast. Ms. Hayes, is it true this estate belonged to your former fiancé's family? Yes. And you foreclosed on them. My brother did legally and appropriately after they defaulted on multiple loans. Some people are calling this revenge. What do you say to that? Sophia smiled. I say revenge would have been selling it to developers. Revenge would have been tearing it down. Instead, I'm using it to help people. If that's revenge, I'll take it. What about Theo Kensington? Have you spoken to him since the breakup? No, and I don't plan to. That chapter of my life is closed. One more question, a young reporter called out. What would you say to women who are currently in situations like the ones your residents are escaping? Sophia looked directly at the camera. I'd say you're stronger than you know. I'd say there are people who will help you if you're brave enough to ask. I'd say the person hurting you doesn't define your worth. And I'd say sometimes the best revenge is building a life so beautiful that the people who tried to break you become irrelevant. That night, Sophia sat in her apartment with a glass of wine and her phone. The news coverage was everywhere. Photos of the estate's transformation, interviews with residents who were starting fresh, think pieces about wealth, privilege, and redemption. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I saw the news. The shelter looks beautiful. I'm proud of you, even if I have no right to be. Beatrice. Sophia stared at the message for a long time. Then she typed a response. Thank you. I hope you find peace in your remaining time. She paused, then added one more line. We both deserved better than the roles we were forced to play. I'm sorry the world made you choose cruelty to survive. The response came quickly. And I'm sorry I perpetuated that cruelty instead of breaking the cycle. You're breaking it now. That matters more than you know. Sophia set her phone down and looked out at the city. Somewhere out there, Beatrice Kensington was dying. Somewhere out there, Theo was probably still trying to figure out how his perfect life had fallen apart. Somewhere out there, the women who'd laughed while she stood soaking wet were probably gossiping about her again, but this time with grudging respect instead of contempt. And she didn't care about any of it. She cared about the 5 women sleeping safely in the Haven House tonight. She cared about the 50 more who'd be admitted over the next year. She cared about building something that would outlast her, that would matter long after everyone forgot about engagement rings and society tea parties and crystal pitchers full of ice water. Arthur called. "You okay?" "Yeah, I'm good." The coverage is incredible. 3 major networks picked up the story. We're already getting applications from women who need help. Good. That's what this is for. I'm proud of you, Soph. Mom would be proud too. Sophia felt tears sting her eyes. Their mother had died 2 years ago, never knowing her daughter would create something this important, never seeing how far her children had come from that 2-bedroom apartment in Queens. I wish she could see this, Sophia whispered. She can, Arthur said gently. I believe that, and I think she's up there laughing at the fact that you turned a society mansion into a shelter. You know how much she hated pretentious rich people. Sophia laughed through her tears. She would have loved this. She loved you. That's why you're capable of doing this. Because she taught you that people matter more than things, that kindness is strength, that you measure your worth by what you give, not what you take. They talked for another hour, reminiscing about their mother planning the shelter's future, dreaming about how many lives they could change. 2 months later, Sophia received a call from Beatrice's attorney. She'd passed away peacefully in her sleep. In her will, she'd left a letter for Sophia. The attorney read it over the phone. Dear Sophia, I'm writing this with whatever time I have left, and I want it to be honest. I was cruel to you. I tried to break your spirit. I used every weapon in my arsenal to make you feel small and worthless, and you stood there and took it with more grace than I ever possessed. Then you turned my cruelty into something beautiful. You took the home I used as a fortress to keep people out, and you opened it to people who needed shelter. You did what I could never do. You chose love over fear. I don't expect forgiveness. I don't deserve it. But I want you to know that in my final weeks watching what you built, I felt something I haven't felt in 40 years. Hope. Hope that maybe the cycle of cruelty can be broken. Hope that maybe the next generation will be kinder than mine. Hope that girls from Brooklyn and Queens can change the world without losing themselves in the process. You didn't need the Kensington name. You didn't need our money or our status. You were always enough, exactly as you were. I'm sorry it took me dying to see that. Use the estate well. Help the women who come through those doors. Show them the strength you showed me. And remember that sometimes the people who hurt you the most are the ones who are hurting worse themselves. That doesn't excuse what we did, but maybe it explains it. With regret and respect, Beatrice Murphy Kensington. Sophia sat in silence after the attorney finished reading. There's one more thing, the attorney said. She left you her wedding ring, the one Richard gave her when they got engaged. She wanted you to have it not as an heirloom, but as a reminder. A reminder of what? Her note says, a reminder that you don't need a ring from a man to prove your worth. But if you ever do choose to wear one, make sure it's from someone who loves all of you, not just the parts that fit their fantasy. The ring arrived by courier the next day. It was beautiful, understated, nothing like the ostentatious 2-carat diamond Theo had given her. Sophia held it for a long moment, thinking about the girl from Brooklyn who'd married into wealth and lost herself. The woman who'd chosen survival over authenticity. The dying woman who'd finally found the courage to speak the truth. She put the ring in a small box and placed it on her desk, not to wear but to remember where she came from, to remember the choices she'd made, to remember that winning isn't about revenge or proving people wrong. It's about building something that matters. 1 year later, the Haven House celebrated its first anniversary. 30 women had graduated from the program. They'd found jobs, secured housing, rebuilt their lives. Some had reconciled with family. Others had started over completely. All of them had found safety and support and the chance to remember their own worth. Sophia stood in the art therapy room watching a new resident paint. The woman's hands shook slightly, the trauma still fresh, but she kept painting, kept trying, kept believing that there was a future beyond the past that haunted her. It gets easier, Sophia said softly. The woman looked up, hope and fear warring in her eyes. Does it really? Yes, not quickly, not smoothly, but yes, it gets easier. And one day you'll wake up and realize you're not just surviving anymore. You're living. The woman smiled, tentative but real. Thank you for this place, for giving us a chance. Thank you for being brave enough to take it. Sophia walked through the estate, her estate watching women laugh and children play and futures unfold. This was her legacy, not a name or a fortune or a society position. But this. Lives changed, cycles broken, hope restored. Her phone buzzed, a text from Arthur. Board meeting next week, new project. I think you're going to love it. She smiled and typed back, can't wait. Because there was always another project, another life to change, another wrong to right. And Sophia Hayes, the girl from Queens, who'd been told she wasn't good enough, who'd had ice water thrown on her by a woman who'd forgotten her own humble beginnings, who'd turned humiliation into purpose and pain into power, was just getting started. The crystal pitcher that had soaked her that terrible day sat in a display case in the entrance hall, now with a plaque beneath it that read, "From cruelty to kindness, from fear to hope, from one woman's weapon to every woman's reminder that we are stronger than the things meant to break us." And every woman who walked through those doors, every person who found safety within these walls, every life that was rebuilt and restored and renewed was proof that true wealth wasn't measured in money or status or family names. It was measured in the lives you touched, the people you helped, and the courage to choose love over fear, kindness over cruelty, and hope over bitterness every single day.